tax on police officers today versus 2009, down 37.3%. So those are good numbers. One of the areas that we are seeing an uptick is in our officer-involved shootings. Year-to-date, they're up 30 year-to-date versus 22 last year. We are continually looking at those for any patterns or trends, and at this point we've not identified anything that we can specifically put our finger on as to what is driving those statistics. As to recruitment and our personnel strength, report that we have 9,968 sworn personnel on payroll. That does not include the 28 individuals that started recruits that started in our academy a week ago this past Monday. For reserves, specialist volunteers, and volunteers, we have over 600. 44 of them are chaplain counselors. Another 372 are specialist volunteers, and then the remainders are levels 1, 2, and 3 reserve police officers. Our civilian staffing remains at 2,814, and our civilian vacancies are at 533. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. The report of the Executive Director.
Excuse me, Madam President, we do have one comment card on the Chief's report.
Oh.
We have Mr. Tut Hayes.
Aside from radio calls, it'd be nice to listen to the radio occasionally. Radio station KABC with Don McIntyre keeps talking every day about the fact that the LAPD is canceled as a serious charge, hit and run. He goes over the 3 hit and runs which were fatal, and he points out that LA is the hit and run capital of the world. 20,000 last year. So who does that? I don't know whether it's a policy decision made by the board or by the chief or whomever. But hit and run is a very serious thing. I've been involved in dealing with it as a pedestrian, audience member on a sidewalk, and one occurred. I had to risk my safety, at least, by trying to apprehend the hit and runner and escaper. Because the car was so badly damaged, first I had to run away from it, which we see on TV all the time. In chases, they crash, they run. So I think this has to be looked at more seriously. I think that the mayor should pay attention to this and deal with it. But hit and run is a serious thing. It cannot be reduced to a minor crime and let the people go free. Because there's no way to determine how much injury, physically, and damage, as far as the vehicle is concerned, occurs in a hit and run. So simply to classify it as something not being all that important, together with the other orders. That's Special Order 77. Look at Special Order 7, change Special Order 7, and allow us, if we can't be safe in an accident, at least recover some damages and punish the individual responsible for it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the report of the Executive Director.
Morning, Madam President, members of the Commission. Just for the record, the Commission needs to take action on item 1 to continue the elections, and that would conclude my report.
Information, filed items. Oh, no, a report of the Inspector General.
I have nothing to report, ma'am, today.
Thank you. In the information filed items, we have noise variance permits on file with additional information in the full agenda. Are there any presentations today?
No, Madam President.
And consent agenda items, we have 8A through B.
Yeah, Madam President, I move approval of consent agenda items 8A and B. Second.
Very good. And on the regular agenda items,
we vote.
Oh, I'm going a little too fast. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Approved. The regular agenda items include a verbal presentation, and A. We have B, the report on Assembly Bill 109, realignment costs, and D, Department's report on party houses.
C.
C. Any other items?
I'm moving to continue the election.
Right. And I'll take a motion.
Move approval of items 9, D, and E, and F.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Approved. Let's begin with the verbal presentation from the Community Police Advisory Board in the North Hollywood area.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're going to be talking about the weather today. It's 78 and sunny. High pressure building in.
It's good to have you back again.
Good morning. It's Captain Steve Cremona. It's my first area presentation as an area CO. I've been upgraded on June of this year. Of course, you know Josh Rubenstein, my co-chair, and Captain Peter Whittingham, the patrol captain, North Hollywood. North Hollywood Station, we serve the communities of the NoHo Arts District, Universal Studios, Studio City, Valley Village, Sun Valley, Valley Glen, Toluca Lake, Midtown, North Hollywood, and we're home to numerous celebrities and politicians. We cover 25 square miles with a population of 220,000 people. There are 8 basic cars serving 2 council districts, and the command contains 268 sworn and 20 civilians personnel, with 6 reserve officers and 12 civilian volunteers. Within the North Hollywood Command, we cover Council District 2. That's Council Member Paul Krikorian, and parts of Council District 4. We have 8 senior lead officers with Sergeant Chris Rowland serving as our officer in charge of the senior lead officers. Key personnel changes, as I mentioned myself into the command in June of this year. We also brought in a new detective commanding officer, Mike Rimkunis, who started just last week. We brought in a new gang impact team lieutenant, OIC, Lieutenant Paul Espinosa. We brought in a recently promoted patrol lieutenant. And we also have 2 lieutenant vacancies, so we'll be actually bringing in 3 lieutenants, 1s, 2 lieutenant 2s, and myself within the last 2 months. Our Part 1 crime, we're struggling with our Part 1 crime. We're down last year in 2012 at this time we were down 8%. Our violent crime was down 15%. Our property crime was down 7%, and our gang reduction Part 1 crime was down 4.6%. This year, our violent crime, we're doing very well. We're down 15.6%. Our property crime is where we're struggling, and it's basically auto-related crimes. Our Part 1 crime is actually, as of last Saturday, is up 5.6%, and our homicides are down. 1 this year. I believe we had 8 last year. So our goals: 1% crime reduction, 2% violent crime reduction, and 3% gang crime reduction. And we are, like I mentioned, we're struggling with the property crime reduction, but with the people we have in place and the systems and the strategies we're looking at, I'm confident we're going to be able to turn that. Our community education piece is lock it, hide it, keep it. We're hoping that doesn't get old, but we're attacking that from different fronts. Because we really do believe that that is a key strategy to getting a hold on this property crime issue. We're looking at reducing pedestrian-related traffic collisions, and looking at our community engagement empowerment, increasing our reserve corps, our stakeholder contact list, which is a work in progress. We're working on developing that business watch and increasing the membership of our CPAB, our Jeopardy, our cadets, and our DAPS. We're always looking at risk management issues, and these were part of our goals. Our perishable skills training. In fact, they're holding a shooting training day today. And we're looking to create and maintain that culture of officer safety in North Hollywood. In our training and development, we're looking to provide that positive feedback. And like I mentioned, we have a set of new leaders at North Hollywood. We're really looking to change the culture and establish that culture of a hard-working, professional police station that gets results. We're looking at establishing the Heroes Wall of Recognition, leadership training for supervisors, and that's ongoing. That was something that was even sponsored by the Bureau with the 7 Habits training for the lieutenants. That has been a great tool for developing our lieutenants. Looking at our training days, we have a supervisor's training day just another week with a bevy of topics that we're going to address. Continuing with the Incident Command ICS training, our constitutional policing is a constant topic in every roll call, every meeting. It's just something that we can't afford to let go. So a lot in store.
So this is my third year as the co-chair for the North Hollywood division, and it has been, it continues to be one of my favorite things that I do. Aside from doing the weather, I do enjoy doing that, but it really is so rewarding, and working with this particular group of officers and command staff, and just like Captain Eisenberg before Captain Carmona, really the partnership between the communities is so very important. That was a barbecue that we threw for the police officers, the Community Police Advisory Board and PALs together. So, of course, the CPAB consists of our 28 regular members. We have active committees, membership and outreach, emergency preparedness, neighborhood watch, and we are establishing a citizen surveillance team. We have at least one cadet present at every meeting, which is really important to us to maintain the youth connection. And we're also trying to create a teen CPAB as well. We also try and get P1s to come to the meetings if they can, if they're available in between radio calls, just so they get to know the public. We think getting those younger officers in to meet us is really an important part of what we're doing here. And of course, something I'm pretty proud of, that more than half of our members are CERT. So, and with the full 7-week class one, the big one, so that's good. Here are our big initiatives that we're going to be working on. One of the things that I wanted to do this year was get us back to the advisory part of CPAB. So what we're doing, we established an AIM, an advisory issue of the month, where a CPAB member would go out with a senior lead, and they would identify a particular problem that they're dealing with in the community, whether it's graffiti, whether it's transients, whether it's whatever burglary for motor vehicle. That member would go out, identify the problem, bring it back to CPAB, and present it to the board and say, here's the issue. And we would sit down and literally for 15, 20 minutes do a brainstorming session and throw everything at the wall of what can we do as the public to help out the police with this particular issue. One of our first issues were these RVs that were parking on a particular avenue, creating all kinds of problems. And we talked about it, came up with this long laundry list, handed it off to the captain and said, okay, well, here's what we think we can do, how we can help and what you might be able to do, and we'll go back and revisit and see if it works. So that's the first thing that we're working on. We're establishing the citizen surveillance team to address the burglary for motor vehicles and the property crime that we've been dealing with. It has worked in the past, and I know that Captain Carmona has worked with a surveillance team in the past, so we're hoping that might help. Map Your Neighborhood is a partnership with the Red Cross that we're doing in an answer to emergency preparedness, where we're going out and into these neighborhoods and neighborhood watches and teaching them how to map their neighborhood so they know where the resources are, who's a contractor, who's a doctor, who has a generator. These small groups then can help themselves during, of course, emergency times. Also, it's a chance for the police department to connect with these neighborhoods to maybe create some more neighborhood watches. So it's a double win. Community outreach, we go to our regular farmers market in Studio City. We've gone to the Target in the north end of the division to do some outreach to folks up there, just so that they know we're here. And what we do is we take the command post vehicle out, a few officers go out, and then the CPAB members go out along with some cadets. And it's kind of a chance, it's a cop on your corner. It's a chance for people to just say hello and, hey, I got a problem with this, I got a problem with this. And it's a great positive moment where people have a good connection with the police department. And then, of course, we have youth participation, the way I mentioned, with cadets coming in, trying to create a teen CPAB. And then our community policing marketing, which, of course, it wouldn't be a presentation if I didn't show you a video, because I know that's the fun part. These get to be boring for you guys, so I like to shake it up a little bit. So we'll show you the video in just a second. Real quickly, our youth program. We of course have the Jeopardy program, 23 enrolled. Do you want to quickly run through this, Captain?
Sure. Our Jeopardy program, our PALs, we're pretty robust in our efforts in this regards, and Sergeant Cueto is our Crow Sergeant. He's just doing an outstanding job. In fact, I'm going to let Sergeant Cueto talk a little bit about this too, because I think he deserves to speak on it. We have parenting classes, group therapy for our licensed marriage and family therapists, and that occurs weekly. But Dave, why don't you go ahead and speak in detail about this?
Certainly, Captain. Good morning. As a community relations sergeant, I have 2 officers that are assigned to the cadet program. And currently we have 75 cadets. We have 23 assigned to our current academy. I also have 2 officers assigned to our Jeopardy program. These are our at-risk kids. These are the kids that we need to get before they become problems to our society. We have 23 currently assigned, and just this last class, we had 4 Jeopardy kids join the ranks of the cadets, which is a great accomplishment, and I know other divisions are doing this as well. One of the things that we have in our Jeopardy program, we have parental counseling. And we have the parents pay for this counseling, but it's also a partnership with the parent, not just leaving us this child, but also having a part in the upbringing of the child. So we also work with the school counselors to make sure we know what kind of grades they're getting. We work hand in hand with the parents. So it's a partnership between the parents, the police, and this child. And you can see our success in that our goal is every academy class to recruit 4 or 5 kids from our Jeopardy program into our cadet program. And that's a great measure of our success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And of course, PALS, which is our fundraising arm, the Police Activity League supporters, where we, of course, raise money for the things that the department can't afford. We had our golf tournament, raised money up in the ballpark of $30,000. That's we're raising the profile of PALS. We've come up with some new bylaws, and we have some new members, and we're really re-energizing that spirit of raising money. So if we have a couple minutes, can we watch a video? What we're doing with these videos.
We have the screens here too.
You got the screen, so you can see it.
You don't have to turn around.
The goal of these videos, the last time you saw it was sort of a general video of what North Hollywood community policing is. These are now a little bit more specific that we're making, where we highlight one officer and one problem. Twofold. We address the problem, and the second part is that we get to meet an officer who and get to know them a little bit more intimately. So let's.
You know, I was from back east, and I thought about doing it back in New Jersey. And I thought I'd be crazy because it rains there and it snows. So I decided, where am I going to do it? The weather's great. I'm going to go to Los Angeles. Right now, Chandler Boulevard, passing the red line over on our left-hand side over here, surrounded by a 432-unit apartment building in front of us, and another multi-hundred building over here, 150 units on our right-hand side that are brand new lofts. So the area's really changed.
Every division of the LAPD is divided into small geographic areas. A senior lead officer is assigned to each of those areas. They are ambassadors for the department. These seasoned officers provide a link between the community and the LAPD.
Can I get an autograph before you blow up? Number one, baby. You take care. You know, a lot of community support over here. You can see people stop by. They're glad to see us here. They know that we're here because we're trying to deter crime. We don't want them to be victimized. And because of the high support that we get from the community, the business community, and the residential community, that's half our job.
And where have you worked?
Down in Pacific Division, then came over to North Hollywood, where I stayed for the remaining 14 years.
And when did you become a senior lead?
10 years ago. I worked a little bit different area up in the north end. I had the chance to come down to the NoHo Arts area about 5 years ago.
While on the job, Catalano has witnessed a population explosion in the heart of North Hollywood.
The subway came in about 10 years ago. It was nothing but a dirt hill as they dug out the subway. None of these big, large, high-density buildings were here, the residential buildings. To NoHo 14 right here, or the other buildings in back of us. It was mostly bungalows and small apartment buildings.
While these new developments have made the Arts District a destination and a highly desirable place to live, it's also attracted an unwanted element.
Probably the best thing that could happen in North Hollywood is putting a subway in here.
But tell me what comes along with that.
The negative side to it is more people, more opportunities for them to be victims.
Combating that negative force is what drives Officer Catalano.
All right. Want to go out and take a walk just to see what we can find? You know, with the bid, we have a bid over here, a business improvement district, and we've been working real close with them, trying to. We've identified all the cameras that we have in the area, but we're also working on getting additional cameras installed, sort of like the Hollywood Boulevard location. So,
spend an afternoon with him, and you'll see why he's considered one of the best slows in the valley. He enjoys getting out of his black and white and walking the beat. On these streets, he's a local celebrity.
My favorite Sheila Gallery. Hey. How are you guys? Good. Nice to see you guys. I haven't seen you forever. All right, you get shut off now. How are you doing, okay?
Yeah.
How's everything? You guys know Jock? You got engaged. Congratulations.
But the laughs and smiles quickly fade away. This afternoon's walk on the streets of North Hollywood is particularly frustrating.
Here you go. It's probably somebody's iPod with their headphones sticking right up. It stands out, purple headphones, nice tan leather seats. Stands out as you're walking by, easy to spot, easy to discover. On the back floor over there, they think they're hiding it, but it looks like there's some more electronics on the back of the seat there.
It's almost impossible to find a car without some type of property laying out in plain view.
Dozen roses for your wife if you want to bring them home with your girlfriend. The price is right, along with some more electronics and a bag containing probably a laptop computer from looking at it. And these are just, you know, we looked at 10 cars, and 3 out of the 10 cars, we see that there's something of value literally in plain view.
In the last few months of 2012, the North Hollywood Division has experienced a significant spike in property crime.
Ma'am, how are you? Good. Hey, you know what? We were just walking by your car. Obviously, I'm with the police. You can't leave anything like this inside of your car over here. The roses and the computer laptop bag.
Oh, it's not a computer laptop bag.
It would be gone no matter what it is. Nobody's going to know what it is, and they're literally going to smash your window, take it no matter what it is, and walk away. It happens all day long.
Those numbers are tough for John Catalano. He takes it personally.
The frustrating part is the amount of time we spend trying to educate the community and tell them not to leave anything in their vehicles, because this is a crime where we really have a lot of control, or the property owner has a lot of control on if they're going to be a victim or not.
Now, resources are pouring into his area. The signs of Catalano's increased efforts are everywhere, literally. He convinced local businesses to actually display the LAPD's mantra: lock it, hide it, keep it.
I don't know where to begin here. I guess there's enough to get a soda if you want. There's a bunch of change sitting right in the middle there, and some clothes in the back, and some bags of items. Here's a good one for you. Choice of backpacks, car chargers, even a Gatorade if you want it. But, you know, who knows what's in that backpack over there? It could be something of value.
Right? So
we don't know what's in it.
It doesn't make a difference if you actually do have a computer or not. Leaving something that looks enticing.
Absolutely. There's some more electronic items there. Probably a $100 pair of Oakley glasses, another charger, and that's the first car we went to. And then you have the, looks like maybe a GPS system on top of the dashboard right there.
Instead of being defeated by the numbers, the LAPD and Catalano continue their fight to educate and communicate.
Do you like Javier Solis? If you like Javier Solis right here.
It's comforting to know that this slow's work is not unique.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I think most people believe it's never going to happen to them until it happens to them.
His dedication is repeated time and time again throughout the city by the many officers in blue. But for the citizens in North Hollywood, it's nice to know John Catalano is there to back them up.
They park along here and they get BFMV'd all day long.
Yeah.
So if you're in the area, just heads up.
All right, I'll keep an eye on it.
All right, thanks, boss.
All right, man, be safe.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Very well done. Thank you. Some questions?
No, thank you.
We do have one comment card, Madam President.
Well, I have. Yeah. I was going to ask you on the property crime, and I think your tape probably answered it. It is primarily out of the cars and trucks, right?
It is, yes.
And you certainly seem to be blanketing that message, but it doesn't seem to be getting through. What about the schools?
Well, we've met with the schools. We've taken some new steps too. We've identified, that red line area seems to be the hub of the activity. We met with MTA officials just last week, and they told us there's 34,000 people that go through that station every day. So we look at not only the criminals that may be coming in and doing their crimes and using the red line to exit, but the cars that are parked in the area. So we're using our cadets to hand out flyers at those key parking lots that inform people, hey, hide your stuff. We're getting the word out with slows. We've increased our bike details. But we've really, even last week, we flooded that area with law enforcement. Put the command post vehicle out there all week. And we still, I'd like to say that we had a good decrease, but no, we didn't. So we're going to talk about it today and see what else we need to do.
Thank you.
Josh, I don't know where you find the time to do all this, but I'm certainly glad that you do. Thank you. Captain Carmona, I've had the pleasure over the last year of going to a number of the neighborhood councils in your division, and I can speak from my own watching the work of your senior lead officers at those events. I think those neighborhood councils are an important part of our community policing. Although they're not designed for that, I think they are. And I think your senior lead officers, I know, I've watched, and they're very generous with their time. Sergeant Cueto, I had a question about the Jeopardy program. Yes. And I apologize, but this was the first time I was exposed to it with what you were talking about. How many kids are in this program now?
We currently have 23 kids.
And how do you find them?
The schools will recommend that to a parent that because of behavioral issues that they need some type of help. Sometimes the parents can take their kid to a doctor if it's psychological issues, but if it's behavioral issues, they bring them to the police department. We interview the parent, we interview the child to make sure he's a fit for our program, and then we'll invest whatever time is necessary, and we even have our own funds, which we, as a department, support. We have our own fundraising for the Jeopardy, so the cost is minimal, but the reward is great.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are the results turning out? I know there's a very positive with young people going to the cadet program and all the good that does, but otherwise, how do the kids do?
One of the things that's clear with us is that a lot of these kids that come to our program come from broken homes. There is no father figure at home. So therefore, you have a 12-year-old kid who thinks he can run his family, and that's not the case. When he finds that he's embraced by the police department and that he is he's not spoken down to, we bring him up to the level to where he develops his confidence, and these kids, they bloom. And then we make sure we stay on top of them to get them to the next level, which is our cadet program.
Yeah, I've always been a great believer in law enforcement. Prevention is our greatest.
We're very fortunate in North Hollywood that we have a great PALS board, and we also have a great Jeopardy board. And these are business leaders in our community that see the investment in our young kids. And I know for a fact that we've turned a lot of kids around from getting into gangs, staying out late at night, curfew violators, and even burglary for motor vehicle kids. They're not breaking into cars because they have something more to look forward to, and that's coming to the police station and being taught by us on the right road.
Thank you very much.
No, you're very welcome, sir.
I do have one other question. In all of our divisions, we have been focusing more on the hit-and-run issues. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing in North Hollywood and what you're seeing.
Well, it's a constant theme. The hit-and-runs are an issue, and just the A's and K's are an issue as well. What we do is we use the daily smart board, and at every roll call is started up with our smart board, 8 to 10 slides, and the watch commander is mandated to talk about that. In those slides, we identify our most problematic intersections for traffic enforcement, and we ask that our officers saturate those areas for extra enforcement. As far as hit and run specifically, we work under the guidelines of the department, and I can't say that North Hollywood has a higher percentage than the rest of the city, but we do work on the traffic-related issues daily.
Thank you.
And we do have that one public comment card.
Yes.
Mr. Tud Hayes.
Thank you. If you're functioning under the guidelines of the department, you know what that means. You ignore hit and runs. They're not important. So I don't think that essentially covers what the public is concerned about with hit and runs. Now, I put to the 77th Division a question I'd like to put to you. Have they posted Penal Code Section 851.5? They said they're working on it. I don't know what that means. Is it posted? Is it not posted? Are they ever going to do it? Whatever. Perhaps you're not acquainted with that code section, but what it requires is that the booking area have a sign conspicuously posted that notifies the arrestees. They have several constitutionally, that's U.S. constitutionally guaranteed rights. 3 telephone calls primarily, bail bondman, family member, and to an attorney. The Metropolitan Detention Center didn't have it. 77th Street didn't have it. I understand the jail is not really part of your jurisdiction, except for the officer who's over it. But do you have it? That's the question. Because if I go to Metro, it's not there. 6 months later, I'll wind up in 77th Street. It's not there. Is it anywhere? It's important because it's one of the few state code sections that indicate a lawyer who's not a lawyer, pardon me, an officer who did not post it is guilty of a misdemeanor. You think that would be emphatic enough and important enough to get it posted? Evidently not. So I ask you that question. Now, emergency preparedness. I can't eat solid food, but I can drink Boost. I can drink Ensure, but that's a luxury diet. But they don't beat you if they don't have anything other than their menu.
We have an additional card for this item. We have Jabril Mohammed.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
Jabril Mohammed. I'm representing Bismillah, the Justice Movement. And this is in regards to the issue at hand. We were speaking in terms of community service and what the position. The video gave me a report in terms of an update as to where we are in our networking with the community, but I didn't see any factual problem solving. And, you know, as a member of the public, in that I was here to be updated in terms of the problem solving, I would have liked to have seen some interaction with the police and the people who have been subject to problems. I would have liked to have seen incident in terms of the car burglaries and whatnot, and how we interacted to come to terms with the resolution of some of the problems that the public are having with North Hollywood. It appears as if everything is at a hunky-dory type of status, when in reality we know that complaints are being filed and things of this nature. And I would have liked to have seen a video production that would have shown how we were able to see the problem and make effort to resolve the problem, and how we have cured the problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And thank you all very, very much, and for all the time and effort, not just in this presentation, of course, but every day in North Hollywood. And you're seeing the difference, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll go on to B, which is the department's report responding to a request from the City Council regarding costs of Assembly Bill 109. Good morning.
Good morning. Captain Ann Clark, Gang and Narcotics Division.
Morning.
Good to see you.
Morning.
Morning.
Go ahead.
Okay. Ma'am, there were some questions regarding the realignment for AB 109.
I think what I think would be helpful is go through the history of why we're making this report at this time in terms of the request from the City Council and basically the kinds of costs that you've identified. I think one of the things that you have heard is that there may be some questions from a member or two from the Commission to compare the costs under 109 with the costs that we had in policing parolees who were supervised by the parole department as opposed to the probation department.
Yes, ma'am. In early 2011, the Supreme Court, in response to a lawsuit citing overcrowding and poor health care with the California prison system, ordered the California Department of Correction and Rehabilitation to reduce its prison population by 32,000 inmates by 2013. The government and state legislature responded with the Public Safety Realignment Act, Assembly Bill 109, and the Assembly Bill was signed into law on April 4, 2011. The Public Safety Realignment Act altered the criminal justice system by changing felony sentencing, shifting housing for low-level offenders from state prison to county jails, and transferring supervision of designated parolees from CDCR to local county agencies. This legislation took effect October 1, 2011. Assembly Bill 109 mandates that after October 1, 2011, individuals newly convicted of a non-serious, non-violent, and non-sex felony offense will serve their sentences in county jail rather than state prison. Although a companion law, Assembly Bill 116, to the Public Safety Realignment Act, allows judges the option of splitting N3 sentencing between county jail and mandatory probation, most do not have any post-relief supervision requirements. Assembly Bill 109 allowed state prison inmates who are serving a current sentence based on a felony conviction of a non-serious, non-violent, or non-sex offense crime to be released into post-release community supervision, PRCS, by a designated county agency. These convicted felons, referred to as post-release supervised persons or PSPs, are now supervised by the county probation department instead of CDCR's Division of Adult Parole. However, state parole continues to supervise current serious or violent felons, third strike offenders, high-risk sex offenders, and mentally ill offenders.
Captain Clark, yes, thank you for that brief introduction to the members of the Commission.
Yes, sir.
The report has been prepared and is before you. As to an overview of the report's contents and so forth, Captain Clark, if you could identify just in brief the establishment of the parolee at large units in each of the 21 areas, their basic purpose, operations, if you will, in support of the probation department and the criminal justice system in LA County as to the impact of PSPs in our city.
Yes, sir.
So just some brief highlights of the report, if you would.
And given that a third of all PSPs are in the County of Los Angeles and a third of all of those are in the City of Los Angeles, each geographic area throughout the city established a parole compliance unit. That consists of one supervisor and a minimum of 4 officers. Many geographic divisions have more than that. It's usually more of a 1 to 6 or a 1 to 8 ratio. And their objective is to monitor and assess the operation to locate and arrest absconders and PALs and to check on those people that are PSPs within the geographic areas. To that end, the staffing costs for that during the past fiscal year 2013-2014, or the current, I should say, is approximately $18 million, and that does not include the city's applied cost allocation percentage. The types of arrests that were made, for example, during the month of May of 2013 include 154 arrests for violations of the conditions, 150 arrests for California Penal Code violations, 129 arrests for Health and Safety Code violations, and 50 arrests for absconder warrants. 18 arrests for Vehicle Code violations, and 5 types of other arrests.
So in the establishment of these, this was, let me take some of this on. Captain Clark, we've fortunately just been able to promote her into gang narcotics, so she's gotten this very new. Whereas I've been with Chief Beck on this since the announcement of realignment back in May of 2011.
To come to meetings, as I recall, when I was county council.
There you go. And what we were faced with in 2011 is with the announcement of realignment and the shifting of obligations to local government for supervision, community supervision, and treatment of people who were lower-level offenses, commonly known as post-release supervised persons, PSPs. In LA City, we knew that we would receive thousands of them. As the report indicates, in the last period since the adoption of the realignment, October of 2011, some 5,000 plus individuals have cycled through their time, about 12 months of a supervision period in LA City. That's of a total of an excess of 17,000 for LA County. Today, as we are here, we have some 13,688 post-release supervised persons in LA County, of which 4,435, I'll give you just those gross numbers, are in LA City. These are individuals that have had varying levels of criminal past, but all of them have been incarcerated in state prison. Many of them have habitual crime histories that date back to their time in their youth. In the absence of effective supervision and treatment, many of them, our history has been for them to re-violate. CDCR statistics demonstrate that in excess of 60% will re-violate within the first 3 years. The majority of those within the first 6 months to a year. With Chief Beck and the department looking at the consequence of this realignment, shifting supervision of those individuals to LA County, recognizing that LA County had a few months in order to stand up a means of receiving them, assessing them, and providing treatment and supervision to them, the chief decided to dedicate substantial existing resources in an effort to augment and support the criminal justice system here in Los Angeles for two reasons. One is the community safety remains paramount. These individuals, absent effective supervision and treatment, will reoffend. And the crime reduction and the community safety achievements of this past decade could be jeopardized. Varying views as to how much that jeopardy was, what could occur, but we know that this is a group that is in need of treatment, that's in need of support services. Probation was providing that. What probation lacked was, and still lacks today to a large degree, is sufficient resources to actively supervise these individuals in the field. That's what LAPD, that's what the LA County Sheriff's Department, that's what many chiefs in the LA County region are providing with dedicated police officers that focus on this group. They focus on this group, again, to demonstrate to the group that there are systems, there are controls in place to hold them accountable to their terms of release. And we're hopeful that in our interactions with them that we'll be able to provide them information and support to encourage their successful reintegration. But make no mistake, a certain portion of these individuals are destined to reoffend. Unfortunately, the statistics are that in the first 6 months of 2013, the stats, again, stats, you know, lies and damn lies, but there's all types of stats here. But let me give you the most recent. Flash incarceration, 821 flash incarcerations in the first 6 months of this year, 286 warrant arrests. These are individuals that, of the population in LA City, again, that 4,400, over 1,000 have gone back into incarceration, whether it be for a short period of time or for an entire revocation, because of violations of their terms of release. In addition to that, nearly 1,700 have been arrested on new offenses. The majority of those are penal code violations. The majority of those penal code violations are property offenses. However, 6 have been arrested for murder, and almost 100 have been arrested for attempt murder, robbery, and assault with a deadly weapon. So, as a department, we are committed, working in partnership with probation, working in partnership with the rest of the criminal justice system and community-based organizations to see that these individuals successfully reintegrate. However, at the same time, we're recognizing that a certain portion, because of their criminal past, because of drug dependency, because of lack of support, because of lack of their own desire or will, pose a risk to public safety. And so our officers that are detailed to these compliance units are the first line of a focus at a decentralized local area to understand who this population is, to work with probation closely in assessing and supporting those that are desirous of successful reentry, and to hold accountable those that would fall off the path. Those parole compliance units also work with parole, state parole, for the existing parolees that are still being released into our communities, as well as working on other habitual or known offenders. Again, this is one of the proven techniques of community policing and in policing, which is that career criminals, habitual offenders commit the vast majority of the crimes. And so as we attempt to prevent crime, it's not just, as you saw today with North Hollywood, with informing our victims and hardening the targets and improving the resiliency of a community to resist crime. It's also identifying the individuals that are prone to commit crime, and because of whatever their reason, and to be focused on identifying those that are the repeat offenders and remove them quickly from the community so that crime and community safety is sustained. With that, the last matter on this is there's been some discussion about the cost of this. From the department's viewpoint, the cost of not doing what we're doing would be much greater in the terms of community safety than the fiscal costs of the realignment of our existing resources to focus on this strategy. As to the argument of whether or not local government and local municipalities should be afforded some monies or some additional resources from the county or state, the department remains supportive of such ambition, and we are also happy to report that we, as this commission is aware, most recently we're in receipt of a $2.2 million grant to help in our enforcement efforts from the state. And we are understanding that similar funding will occur this coming year. It's monies that we'll use and are already in place this summer with augmenting our enforcement efforts even more. And with that, Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chief Moore, help me understand, to the extent that you may be aware, the rationale or thought behind this motion, this council motion in the first place, in terms of the cost. I mean, was there an implication here that the city should not provide the resources to continue LAPD's role here, or was it more in terms of trying to reach out to other entities to try to generate some support? I mean, the department understand that, because I agree with you. I mean, the cost of not doing this would pale in comparison to the cost of doing it.
I think it's a matter of information for the council, that it's a genuine interest in understanding realignment, which is now, as it's completing its second year, that people are asking the impact of this realignment, the shifting of resources, shifting of responsibilities. Are we seeing improvement? What's the impact on local agencies? And it's a genuine request of the department as to understanding the impact on our operations. We believe that it's thoughtful. We think that it's strategic, and as you heard today, we have challenges within our crime reduction efforts, particularly in property crimes. And while there are people who believe that realignment or these low-level offenders, that is their crime of choice, there is some evidence to support that, and so if that is, to the extent that's true, and we've not actually memorialized that, we've not actually seen studies that demonstrate that, but to the extent that the types of individuals coming out of state prison are known or habitual drug users, that their crime of preference is property crime, we think shifting resources to focus on those individuals to stop that appetite, if you will, to curtail it, is appropriate to improve community safety. I think the council is interested, I'm hopeful that they're interested and believe they're interested in engaging in that dialogue. To the extent that it changes funding or priorities by the Board of Supervisors or by the state, the department's again, we're not in those discussions at this point, but we're more than happy to cooperate and talk with this commission as well as with our elected leaders as to the strategy that we're using and the basis for it.
Thank you. You've touched upon, to me, another critical aspect of this that frankly goes beyond LAPD and its capacity. The fact that a number of these individuals, as you indicate, people who may have problems with drugs and/or other, and other people who may need training, who may need jobs, and these kinds of supportive services, again, are beyond either the purview of the capacity of LAPD. It's a resource issue by the broader public sector, private sector, and again, I know it's beyond the scope of your responsibility, but I think that's an important message that the decision makers, whether they be the city council, the mayor, and/or private sector members, because I think that's a critical part of this problem.
It is. The department participates. Actually, I sit in lieu of Chief Beck on the CCJCC, the Criminal Justice Coordination Committee for LA County Board of Supervisors. This is an ongoing conversation each month. The participation of community-based non-government organizations and their service providers is an interest of that group to ensure that it's effective, that they're focused, that they're sufficiently funded. Because in reality, we want to see those services provided at the greatest level of effectiveness to reduce the recidivism, to reduce the likelihood that these individuals will return to a life of crime. We're a partner in that conversation. It's important. We've already, as Chief Beck has remarked earlier, we've learned as this realignment has occurred the importance of working with resident treatment facilities and others that are engaged in trying to put these people back on the right course, and we're supportive of those endeavors, and we're also supportive that they be properly staffed and properly resourced.
And just one other point, in view of the recent Supreme Court decision, which is going to result in additional people being released on this program, at what point is the department not going to be overwhelmed, just in terms of the increased level of demand on the one hand and the resource limitation on the other?
We don't, as you know, and as a tenured member of this organization, the department we don't look at ever being overwhelmed. We're pragmatic. We deal with what we have. We want to be strategic about it. We want to be thoughtful. This pending release of upwards of 10,000 additional individuals that are state inmates has created a number of concerns in the public safety community. There's been much discussion about it. As it occurs, as it develops, we'll be intimate in its understanding. And as those individuals are released in the field or back in the street, in the communities, we are there to see that they're successfully integrated.
Are you going to be asking for additional resources?
Well, we're discussing how our resources are used, and to the extent that there are added resources that are available, this is a department that is not over-policed or overstaffed, as we all well know. And so these resources that we're taking are from a finite number, and we're actively involved in other investigations. And so we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. We are pulling from one area to degree that we think we're still serving the basic needs of community safety in Los Angeles, but that is not a bottomless pit of resources.
And I think in the overall report, too, though it wasn't mentioned in this report, I think at the time you are going to be presenting this to the City Council. One, I think it's very well organized what you have been doing here, but I think the City Council and the county and the state would be helped greatly by recognizing what you had been doing even before realignment in terms of the policing of the parolees. In many ways, these are the same prisoners, and they are coming to the same place. And we have had experience in the past. We have had resources in that area too. So I think it'll help to give an overall picture, because I think you're right, especially with additional prisoners coming into Los Angeles. All of the component agencies are going to have a real challenge, and and I think as much as possible for them to see the whole picture, the picture of recidivism now as opposed to recidivism then. The reason we have this knowledge about recidivism is we've seen it before realignment, and we've seen it after realignment, too. So I think just hopefully as this progresses and continues, we can help the overall justice community by having a little more information in that regard.
And Madam Chair, to that degree, I was remiss. There was some discussion about a request of how did we police this group in the past. And in 2010 and before, state parole agents in this region, as well as across the state, provided active field supervision. In 2010, there were 3,056 arrests. I'm sorry. 3,930 arrests in LA City for parole violations, which demonstrates, again, not only compliance checks and a tether in a sense of supervision of those individuals, but a number of them that were found in violation and were arrested on those charges. Of course, a number of others were also arrested on open charges. The department has always dedicated a certain number of resources, personnel resources, to work with parole, to work with probation. A multidisciplinary team approach exists not only in our gang details but throughout many of our operations because of the strength that multiple agencies bring. And so we've worked prior to this time. What AB 109 signified was a substantial shift that we wanted to bring organizational focus to. So Hollywood, central areas were true prime examples that historically ran parolee at large units because of parole populations in those communities. And it was a tactic that was used at a local level. What Chief Beck did with the announcement of realignment and its implementation is signal to the entire organization that this was a group that we needed to support probation and the other parts of the criminal justice system with added and dedicated resources.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief Moore, I missed it. How many persons are being released into the city of Los Angeles?
Today we have 4,435 individuals that are on that are PSP or active and are active in supervision by the Department of Probation, and we work with LA County in partnership with that.
All right. And my understanding is approximately $2.3 million has been provided to the department from the state to cope with this problem?
Well, $2.2 million was provided by the state. Actually, just over $7 million was provided to LA County municipal police chiefs, of which LA County chiefs of police divided the pool, if you will, by the percentage of PSPs within each jurisdiction. So for LA City, for this past fiscal year, that amounted to $2.2 million. Those monies are being used to augment, again, our enforcement efforts, compliance checks, locating absconders, those that are of this people, of these those within the realignment that are in our local communities. The state is committed to doing such funding for a 3-year period. It's an effort by the governor, as I understand it, to assist local agencies with policing and general crime reduction efforts that is not being organized or processed through the counties.
That's the point I wanted to get to, that this is very quickly going to fall solely upon the city of Los Angeles because the state money runs out, next year?
Well, currently, there's funding for this next fiscal year, the one that we're in now, and one more is what the governor has signaled. As to futures beyond that, I believe we're hopeful that it's that as they analyze the monies and how it's being spent by local agencies, that they will see that those monies were spent wisely and effectively in accomplishing what the governor has set out to do, and that we'll see that it continues.
You know, Chief, I know the department takes great pride in the ability to get the job done no matter what the job is. But right now, I think you've indicated you have to reallocate resources to cope with this influx into the city of persons for whom crime has either been a mistake or is their livelihood, their profession. And so it seems to me that it would be helpful to indicate what sort of resources is the department going to need going forward, both in terms of manpower or in terms of money. And again, because you are reallocating resources. I don't know where you're reallocating resources from, but at some point something else will suffer to cope with this. That's in my opinion.
So if I could, one aspect of realignment is that it's a matter of stages. The current PSP population will actually begin declining after this next year, which could be, in fact, why the governor's office has announced the 3-year funding cycle, as they recognize that by 2015, 2016, PSPs, as we're calling them today, will be a trickle of what they are today. Because the shifting of realignment is, effective October of 11, is that we now have what's called an N3 population. An N3 population, which is an individual who normally would have gone to state prison but is a non-serious, non-violent, non-sex offender, a burglar, car thief, grand theft individual, narcotic offenses. Those individuals are going to county jail. What's important to the department and what's important to the criminal justice system is that they be properly supervised upon release and that they have support services. So the department is working with, as this moves forward strategically, with as funding may or may not ebb from the state, is what are we doing working with our state legislators to ensure that those individuals who are now N3s have effective supervision and support services upon their exit from county jail. The sheriff, of course, is working with education-based incarceration to try to get programming and support services for all these individuals who are in county jail. They can begin a path of reentry successfully. What we're hoping is that there's efforts at the state level to ensure that all N3s upon their release have a 6-month to 1-year period of supervision and support services so that they can successfully reintegrate. Because as PSPs ebb, the number of offenders going into county jail will take the burden. Those N3s coming out today, which in LA City and LA County number in the thousands, vast majority have no supervision requirements. That is actually a more pressing issue for us. And then lastly, the most pressing issue is also probation being able to continue to improve their staffing and their ability to supervise PSPs as well as work in partnership with local agencies, including us. They have been generous in their assignment of 5 deputy probation officers. We're hopeful that they're going to be able to expand that and that each of our 21 areas will have a deputy probation officer there with us. But you're correct. We are always mindful of the costs of these of realignment and its impact. We're pragmatic in the sense that we'll work with the resources that we have, and we're hopeful that as we demonstrate our accomplishments, that additional resources or funding, as it's recovered in the state or local economies, will be afforded to us.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'll take a motion.
Madam President, we do have 3 comment cards for this. We have Mr. Ted Hayes, followed by Jabriel Mohammed and Yvonne Michelle Autry.
Occasionally there's a ballot measure that directly affects the police department, and surprisingly, overwhelmingly, the black community statistically supports those measures. I'll tell you why in a moment. Now, if they go to county jail, guess who's allowed to release them? The sheriff. When his jail becomes overwhelmingly impacted, he lets them go. So they are let go by the state, they're let go by the sheriff. And so what happens? Now, the reason that the black community overwhelmingly supports police measures, because if you were coming through the city, throughout the city of L.A., and you didn't see anyone on the streets anywhere in the city, how would you know you're driving through a black community? Because of the bars and the security gates on the houses and apartments. Because these low offenders, these burglars, the car thieves, and so forth and so on, are predominantly in the black community. We suffer, and we try to protect ourselves with our bars and our security gates, because those people are not behind bars. We are. So I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know it's going to impact the black community seriously. There's a campaign to stop mass incarceration. I'm sure you're familiar with that. I don't know how much acceptance any members of you have of that situation. But when we had the Occupy L.A. across the street and the department moved in to arrest them all, the cry went up, don't plead guilty, crash the system. And that's exactly what would have occurred. Had everyone not pled guilty and stayed in jail, which is much more comfortable than lying on that lawn across the street, they would have crashed the system. So the system is crashing, and the black community is going to pay seriously because of that.
Thank you.
Jabril Mohammed.
Approaching the afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chief Moore. Listen, in regards to the matter of support services, you know, to my knowledge, when these ex-felons were incarcerated, they had jobs. They worked in accordance with the administration, and in doing so, they got good time. They were paid. I'm curious as to what are we going to do in terms of seeing to these people having some type of stipend. You know, the problems that lead to crime are housing, unemployment, financial stress. So I'm hearing that the monies to be raised are going to be for the employ of more supervision and more policing. I want to hear how we're coming up with programs to allow the ex-felons to come into the society by way of performance. You know, the very same performance that existed while they were incarcerated. You know, they worked in the laundry, they worked in the kitchen, you know, it was so many different things that they aspired to be about. And then we find in so doing, there was a great deal of contentment. And it was, if you really look at the level of crime while incarcerated, you'll find it's at an all-time low because they're occupied with programming. And so I'm saying that for the ex-felon, this 3,000, 4,000 population, I want to see more programs where they are the very same support factors while they're in their freedom as they are while they were incarcerated. And I think that we should give that a sincere concern and see how we're going to come up with some monies to employ these people, because we know if we could buy certain things, we wouldn't be the propensity to take them or steal them or whatever. Thank you.
Yvonne Michelle Autry.
I'd like to speak into support into what my two previous colleagues just stated. And this is, again, prison industrial complex, which is where some of these inmates go. This is an industry. It's a business. It's cheap slave labor. The prisons are the new plantations and penthouses for the majority of black male inmates. Their DNA is used in the genome experiment because the DNA is required from each inmate. So I remind you that the focus here is prevention. So if you're sincere, Mr. Michelle Moore, and your statistics, which many of them I've noticed for years have been fabricated, if you're sincere, the issue is prevention. More money should be used to develop jobs for these men, prevention even on an elementary, high school level, after-school tutorials, and, you know, increase the amount of money that you're investing in the education, because if people feel, you know, that they're of value and they're educated and they have the will to work and opportunities, they will. We're not predisposed to crime. We're not demons and evil people. The system creates the incrimination of our people. I'm a black woman. I was born in Inglewood, and I know what I've been through, and I was educated in the finest private schools, but as a black female, we're still stigmatized. So again, instead of developing all these new prisons and departments for you lovely police officers, and there are good police officers, but there are too many that abuse and profile and use excessive force, and this incriminates and makes people angry. And if they don't have jobs, and unfortunately they vent their anger on their neighbors. Also, you know, food stamps and had been cut off for a lot of felons. If they can't get food, how are they going to eat and feed their children? This was on a state level. At LA County, we had to lobby in favor that felons can, in fact, receive general food stamps and other GR benefits, even because they have paid their debt to society for those that are sincere in reentering society.
And that is the final card.
Is there a motion on the report?
Madam President, I move approval of the department's report and transmission of the report to the Public Safety Committee.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Approved. And our final department report is C, related to regulating the party houses.
Good morning.
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 My name's Captain Kelly Moldorfer. I'm the commanding officer, Detective Support and Vice Division. As you all have read, we provided a report at the request. It was in response to a motion by Councilmember LaBonge in November of 2012 that we take a look at coming up with some sort of an ordinance to regulate the party houses that pop up from time to time throughout the city. Originally, he brought this motion in 2006, and then it came up again in 2012, and recently we've looked into it again. As part of our research, we took a look at the cities of Santa Monica, Malibu, and Newport Beach, who all have ordinances that regulate party houses. Also, we include within our research, we met with the city attorney. We included Commission Investigation Division, our nuisance abatement, citywide nuisance abatement unit, and this is Detective Eric Moore, who's in charge of that unit. The Hollywood commanding officer, B. Grimala, because she is very much impacted by these party houses. It's been a problem for her over a number of years. And Emergency Operations Division, because they are the entity that provide or give film permits. And so a lot of the permitting information was gotten from them. But basically, in looking at the three different cities and what their policy, what their ordinances are, there's good things out of all three of them. I think the one that most closely mirrors some of our recommendations is in the attached matrix from Newport Beach. But they all have something, a piece that is germane to the issues that we have here in Los Angeles. And our basic conclusions from the report were that, number one, we need an ordinance to regulate this type of activity. It's a public safety issue, and it is definitely a quality of life issue if you're in the neighboring homes or neighboring areas, and some of these commercial type party houses get out of control. It's a fire hazard because of some of the parking issues, particularly up in the hills, where the streets are quite narrow and the streets are then clogged with cars and people, and you can't get emergency vehicles through there. So all that to say that, yes, we do need an ordinance to take a look to regulate this. And also that whatever ordinance that we come up with, not just be limited to party houses, which implies that it's a home. We've found throughout the city that it's not just houses. There's a variety of different dwellings that are used for these commercial party ventures. So we would recommend that whatever ordinance we have, the language include any type of dwelling used for this type of purpose. We made basically 8 recommendations as a result of our research. The recommendations, just to quickly summarize them for you, was to prohibit these types of parties in residential areas, zoned residential areas, to look at the Santa Monica, Newport Beach, and the Malibu ordinances and pick and choose from those ordinances what is most relevant for us, and to include the language of an unlawful party venue within any ordinance that we have, and to, within the language, also define ruly versus reasonable. In other words, unruly versus reasonable. We want the officers who respond to have some discretion in terms of determining what is an unruly party or what is a reasonable party that is not really causing a problem in a neighborhood. So we wouldn't want to just identify it by the number of people at a party per se. There would have to be other things that would attach to make it an unruly party. And the fifth one had to do with some language, some additional language that we felt should be within the ordinance. The 6th recommendation was the use of social media and the media to, when we do get an ordinance, to utilize that to get the information out about the ordinance, to educate the public of the new ordinance. Also, we recommended that we establish a standardized number of attendees to require a permit. In the Newport Beach, I believe it's the Newport Beach ordinance, they have, if you have 100 people or more, then you have to get a permit. I'm not saying that 100 is maybe our number, but we should look at defining what is a large party for the city.
And would that only be for parties that are worth for profit? The 100, or across the board, you get a permit for 100?
Across the board.
Across the board.
Even if it's, even if I'm just hosting a party where I'm not charging anybody, just a party of friends.
Yes, go ahead.
In my home.
Yes, sir. What we found is that a lot of gatherings, a lot of times, regardless of at a specific threshold, and again, that would be a number that would be decided upon, a lot of times it would be helpful if the department was forewarned to maybe mobilize appropriate resources or to make sure that some type of public safety plan was in place. Frequently, small birthday parties may turn into events that require police response or some type of that create a problem for the neighborhood. So we just would suggest that whatever is deemed to be a large party, that there be some type of notification put in place, a notification requirement.
But with the thought that Captain mentioned earlier, that the number alone would not be a determining factor in terms of whether or not there's going to be a response from LAPD to break up a party.
Correct. We recognize that there are a number of community members who have large parties, and so we wouldn't want to.
And some people do have the capacity.
Then absolutely they do. I would suggest, though, I think where we were trying to go with this is that if there is going to be a large party that has the potential to impact the ingress and egress of cars and emergency response vehicles and so on and so forth, that through the permitting process we could, as an agency, take a look and just make sure that all those things, those questions have been answered, those issues have been addressed. I know a lot of the larger parties, they use valet, they have parking taken care of, there's no fire code issues, and this is what the permitting process for a large party, whatever we deem that to, whatever the city decides that is.
And Commissioners, I could also draw attention that the council action that's requesting the department to report on this is largely being driven by the commercial use of hosting of commercial parties in some relatively large venues, others not so much. What we've done as a department is demonstrate what three small, admittedly small jurisdictions, Malibu, Newport, Santa Monica, what they've done for their jurisdiction. We don't believe that any one of them is a perfect fit for Los Angeles, given the dynamics and the size of Los Angeles and the characteristics of the various neighborhoods and so forth. What we're drawing attention to the council is that there are a number of options available, that we join with them in concern for the commercial use of private residences for large party gatherings and the disturbance that those create, and the challenges of the current enforcement scheme, which basically is insufficient fines are seen as the cost of doing business, and promoters who shield themselves by hiding in the wings, if you will, and they have people who are tenants that are at the door, if you will. So we want to, again, provide a bit of information and allow the City Council, in its wisdom, as it sees and knows its communities, to understand that we do think increased fines, we do think increased controls are in order, but we also are mindful that a person desirous of having a birthday celebration with 101 people shouldn't necessarily have to go out and get a permit or pay for such permits, recognizing that their location could easily accommodate such an event.
Yeah, Chief Moore, and that's the point I'm making, and I fully support the recommendation here. I mean, this whole the party house, that's a different proposition.
And that's why I want to clarify.
But as to the extent that LAPD has input moving forward, and/or the Police Commission moving forward, I think that it's important that there be sufficient flexibility, particularly for private, keeping in mind not unduly restricting the ability of individuals who want to just have a private party.
We agree.
They not be lumped in or confused with the commercial party houses.
Exactly.
One other thing, Chief, and I think you need to consider here, I don't know if the legislation does or proposed legislation does, but in addition to the private parties with people who have friends. Lots of friends like my friend John. There are also other things that I think it's a constitutional or perhaps First Amendment issue you need to look at here a little bit, and that is the political fundraiser. Those are often 100 people or more. Those are often, there is a price to admission to those things, and so that might be. I don't want that sort of speech to be restricted or people to feel that they have to get a permit to do it, because then you do have constitutional issues. And although I've never been invited to a party house, I've been invited to a lot of fundraisers, and there is perhaps an entertainer performing, and there's food being served, and there are lots of people parking on the street. Sometimes if they don't have valet parking, sometimes they do. But, I think you need to be very careful to make sure that that sort of activity is not infringed by this. And I could see how, if I just said, it costs money to get in, there's 200 people there, there's someone performing, you'd say, well, that's a party house. Well, no, that's a fundraiser for someone who's running for office or for a charity speech.
A charity, too.
A charity, yeah.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, but I don't think the city council will.
I don't think they would intentionally, but I think it's one of those things that could creep in.
Pointed out, this is the focus of this is the commercial party houses. It definitely is that. There's no desire on our part, or I believe on the part of the city council, to inhibit those activities.
And I think your comparison table will be very helpful to them as they work their way through it. They're going to have the same concerns, I'm sure, that this commission does. And if there aren't any further questions?
We have 2 comment cards, Madam President. We have Ms. Yvonne Michelle Autry.
I'd just like to start out again by always commending and encouraging the real peace officers that continue to serve and protect regardless of race, color, ethnicity, gender, and or economic status. But even at this time, in most recent occurrence of what happened at the party houses at USC, I really wish I didn't have to even remind police officers of the disparity or the differences in which predominantly, white partiers or congregations are treated relative to black scholars at USC who are law-abiding, exemplary citizens in the Los Angeles community. Even at 2013, I still have to make these comments to remind, again, not the peace officers who really, and we do appreciate you, who really do police irregardless of race. This is bilateral application of policy and procedure. But in reminding you again that when you are policing and when you are administrating or when you are, on duty to please, irregardless of race or color, you're regulating these party houses, whether they are Caucasian USC students in West Hollywood, or they're predominantly black or Latino. Hopefully information hopefully is included in your sensitivity training. Again, I don't get paid for making these comments, but when there are students that are whose civil rights are being violated, human rights are being violated, they're being profiled, or the excessive force or disrespect which was exhibited on the USC campus a few months ago, which you all I'm sure have read about or heard about. Again, that should be discouraged. It shouldn't even be in existence. I shouldn't even have to be making these comments because that shouldn't have happened.
Mr. Ted Hayes.
I've not had an opportunity to look at the memoranda associated with this item. But remember, a house is also a home. And that's a blockade. That's a stop for police officers without a warrant. So it's a very sensitive issue as far as the Constitution is concerned. Is can police come in, or do they stand on the threshold and say, cool it, guys, calm it down? How is it going to be done? I don't know what you mean by commercial party house. If you have a license of some kind, a permit of some kind, that makes them be actually classified as being a commercial party house, I'm not sure. I'll look at the memorandum, see how it's presented. But as Ms. Archie just pointed out, there was a very serious problem with USC. Of course, their police department, which they have, is not large enough to deal with a serious disturbance on that campus, so LAPD was brought in. Now, subsequent to that, I was there at USC to find out what the students were complaining about. And indeed, they did indicate that there was a discrepancy between the kind of enforcement subjected to a white frat or sorority, I don't know which, and that would happen with a black sorority, a frat house. So I don't know I don't consider what I heard, and I did conduct a pretty detailed investigation, that it was really that bad. It's just they didn't like their party being shut down, is what I concluded, and I can understand that. But it's a very serious thing that has to be looked into, and I think the City Council, Councilman LaBonge, has to be advised of how serious this might amount to when it comes to determining what the department is going to do relative to people having a ball. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam President, if I may just add one final comment.
Absolutely.
One thing that I was remiss and didn't speak to was I don't want to leave the board with the impression that the permit would be simply based on the number of people. Certainly, we would advocate that any permitting process, there would be other criteria that would have to be met that would then make sure that a permit attached, so as not to inhibit your constitutional right to have a party or do those types of things.
Thank you for the clarification, though I do think you did say that also.
I'll move. We have a motion?
Yes, please.
I'll move approval of regular agenda item 9C.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's now time for public comment.
Yes, we have about 6. We have starting Sean Nee, followed by Ted Hayes.
My name is Sean Nee. On June 2nd, I was arrested by LAPD after photographing officers from a public sidewalk in Hollywood. Despite standing 90 feet away and behind 2 fences, Officers Foster, Palmer, and Sergeant Rudy Vidal said I interfered with their police investigation. I was handcuffed, transported to the police station, handcuffed to a bench, escorted to an interrogation room, and then ultimately released after Detective Mossy learned my attorney's name. My video and experience reveal a potential problem within LAPD, which is the notion that some officers may believe that they are above the law and the Constitution. For instance, Officer Foster told Sergeant Vidal that I was talking all this nonsense about my First Amendment rights. So is that the officer's personal opinion, or is LAPD training their officers to believe constitutional rights are nonsense? Furthermore, was the behavior of Sergeant Vidal, who in 1992 was labeled a problem officer by the Christopher Commission and included in the LAPD 44. In response to my silence, Vidal said, "If you're going to play it that way, we could play it that way." 2, take him in for interfering. By now, LAPD should know, along with every other police agency in this country, that the people have a constitutional right to use cameras to document police. No one should be subjected to harassment, intimidation, arrest, or physical violence if they choose to point a camera at LAPD. Finally, my arrest was covered in the media extensively, including LA Weekly. So I was wondering why Lieutenant Andy Newman told LA Weekly that officers initially contacted me 45 minutes before the engagement shown in the video. That's a fabrication. That did not happen at all.
Mr. Ted Hayes.
Thank you, and I hope you have brought this matter to the attention of the Inspector General.
From that, there were some things that were not taken care of my pestering you about 851.5, and I hope that the next generation of commissioners will deal with that issue as well as others. For instance, emergency preparedness. It just occurred to me sitting here hearing the presentation by North Hollywood that if you can't be prepared to feed people, what are you prepared for? Some old guys like me are on the verge of collapsing, and I do that when I don't get fed. I fall out. I did that in the cell when I was at the, because I didn't get any food for 2 days. You might suffer the same consequence. But anyway, it's been delightful seeing you. I'm pleased that some members have said, "Hey, Tut, where have you been?" when I didn't show up. So thank you. Enjoy your future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sarkis Agajanian.
Lies, damn lies, and a cover-up at West LA. I got this accidentally on the bus this morning. So-called report. I told you what was happening. That's why your police in West LA, those corrupt cockroaches, refused to arrest my assailant. Despite the fact Detective Simmons said, "What? Don't worry, we'll get this man." Integrity in all we say and do. In the coming weeks, I'm going to rip off all of these off the wall because you're propagandists, liars, and you serve the well-to-do. And I'm broke, and I don't have a lawyer. Now, I pray to my gods, despite the fact I'm a communist and an atheist, I am still the son of Apollo, the Greek sun god, and the servant of Krishna. And they both assured me they're going to help me out. With you, Martinets, and his boss, who's impotent. He's no boss of nothing, as you are no boss of anything. Next week, I'm going to tell you that I've got a private detective, well known to all of you and the entire world. He's doing it for pro bono. He's going to cover up all the corruption and all the crap you people put out with these propaganda movies. I, in the future, am going to rip off every one of these with my personal complaint. Communists don't believe in individuals, and apparently in your system, you don't either. Democracy is coming to the USA. The Tribune of the People is on his way. Jaya.
Yvonne Michelle Autry.
I'd like to, for the record, again, object to the continued harassments and the increased surveillances in an effort, I suppose, to discourage community activists who still are vocal in exposing police brutality or in providing and defending the civil and human rights for those who are disenfranchised or homeless, in speaking in defense of any marginalized constituency that the government has commissioned your officers to persecute, torture, and or harass. These SARs, suspicious activity reports, again, erroneous, unjust, unfounded, untrue, turning neighbors, other members of the community against people who are simply exercising their right to organize, to voice, and to expose civil and human rights violations. I'd like to submit this in writing for your consideration because the harassments and the surveillance and the incrimination, the demonization, the witch hunts are increasing. Again, invading our private spaces. I've had my apartment invaded illegally, I believe, by undercover or undercover police officers. And this is ridiculous. This has to stop. We're law-abiding citizens, and to the extent that we use our rights to organize in exposing institutionalized corruption, we're incriminated, and that's illegal. This is still America. And that's for this record. Also, I'd like to urge you to continue to resolve the DNA kits if you have not. I believe that's, again, a government cover-up because I believe some undercover off-duty police officers have been in commission of these violent crimes. And if you examine the DNA kits, you might find that either in ritual or in other exploits. Thank you.
Thank you. David Weebley.
Good morning. It's been a long time since I've spoken to the Police Commission, since the Caruso days, so I'm back. I'm a musician. I live in the Silver Lake area, and I've been noticing as I drive across the city a great number of cyclists that are disobeying the law, going through stoplights, stop signs, pedestrian crosswalks, driving on the sidewalks at high rates of speed. And while I see police officers pulling over motorists, I've never seen one pulling over a cyclist. They don't have insurance, as far as I know. And there also seems to be a sense of defiance in the cycling community that because these roads were designed for cars, that they don't have to abide by car rules. So I spoke with Andrew Smith, and he asked me to send an email with locations, but when I was at Brentwood, at Bundy and San Vicente, which is a popular bicycle area, they were still going through the red lights there. Doesn't mean they're supposed to deploy officers just because I happened to send an email, but I haven't noticed any change in the last week, so maybe I sent it to the wrong person. So if there's anything that can be done, especially on Saturdays, it'd be a great time to monitor this and find out what's really going on and hopefully issue some citations. It seems to me to be some sort of crime perimeter issue, the same way Chief Bratton used to be concerned about graffiti. I think this lawlessness on the part of cyclists is the same kind of thing. It starts to erode the law enforcement of our society. The other thing I wanted to mention is LAPD police cars not signaling lane changes. I brought this up about 5 or 6 years ago, and they started blinking their signal one time and then going on. So is there any way they can set a standard, like the Superman set a great example for the kids kind of vibe here? It'd be awesome. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
And the final comment card is from Jabril Mohammed.
I've been at that corner. He's right.
It's Jabril Mohammed, representing Bismillah, the Justice Movement. Peace to all that's here. This is in regards to our pursuit of a violent criminal. As we know, the emir of the organization Bismillah, myself, was assaulted May 9th on 4016 South Central, and the perpetrator of that crime is still at large. And we're requesting that the commission investigate this matter for the sake of finding out why that is the case. It borders on collusion when you think in terms of the fact that this matter happened May 9th, and as of August, this day that we speak, the perpetrator is still at large. The reports that have been given regarding this matter is in how can I say, disarray. They have not been accessed. There's been no ability to access them upon investigation in terms of their filing. It was just reported to Mr. Muhammad that these reports were in fact filed. However, during his investigation, it was no evidence of them ever having been filed. Now, this is the reason why he believes that collusion is the issue here, and it is due investigation by the commission to determine the trustworthiness of those who have the public's welfare at stake. And as a member of the public and public safety being the mantra of the police, at this point, I don't feel that they're fulfilling that mantra. So I'm requesting that an investigation be given the report that was allegedly filed.
Thank you.
That is the final card, Madam President.
Then we will adjourn for a closed session in which we have 2 employee discipline issues, number 1 and 2, and a conference with legal counsel.
The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item numbers 10A and B in accordance with various government codes. Session item number 10A1 was discussed and the chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. In closed session, item number 10A2 was discussed and the chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. And in closed session, item number 10B was discussed. Madam President, is there a motion for adjournment?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourn.
Hi, I'm Shannon Lamert Park. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Hey, Maddie, Taylor, what's going on with you two?
Hey, what's up with you?
Madison, what's wrong? You can't say hi to an old friend?
Yeah, of course, Kevin. What's up? Life treating you well these days?
Yeah, life is good. Oh, I finally broke it off with Christina. It took me a while, but she kept being so sad and wanting to get together. I had enough. Just wasn't into her anymore, you know?
Oh, and I thought the two of you were going to get married. You were always together.
No, that's not the case at all. I mean, she was always hanging around me, and she would not take no for an answer. I mean, I've been trying to break it off for a while, but you know, she's cute. You know, they don't help with the situation.
Okay, class, let's get working. Our deadline is 2 weeks away. I want you to get started on your assignments, cutting, pasting, whatever your assignments are. Let's just get started, okay?
Hi, Miss James. I was wondering if I could help out with the yearbook.
Oh, absolutely, Christina. We need all the help we can get right now. Go ahead and start with Taylor and Madison with pictures and cutting and stuff, and I'll give you something to do in a little while.
Okay, thanks.